Resolution number 24-262, estimate of the annual aggregate levy, Community Mental Health Fund, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, second by Ogalla. Do you have a comment, Mr. Richmond, before I start addressing it?
I appreciate, yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody on this board doesn't agree that there are some mental health issues and concerns out there in the community, and that I just I'm not going to go back and rehash how it was voted on and the language on it and all that kind of stuff, but this program has been almost in place for 2 years. It was brought to Finance Committee. The fact that there was a report was due, and then the documentation, we were not provided with it. And from there, then what we did is we made a decision to at least try and follow the rules for that. Statutory requirements is that they do have a 3-year plan, and it's only been mentioned in the minutes for that on June 10th. What I'd like to do is make sure that we see the creation of that 3-year plan, and get that information. At the Finance Committee meeting, I invite every department to come forward. I've had many of the elected officials come forward, many departments and that, and provide us with insight, information on things, on how things are going. I think our committee is very open and receptive to having people come out and provide us with information. I have not attended any of the mental health meetings or that. Work has prevented me from doing that. But then again, I believe they've only been in front of the Finance Committee once and provided us with insight and information. And if I'm fortunate enough to be the chair again of Finance again next year, I'll look to make sure that I put them on the calendar. We do have a rolling calendar where we've tried to take and spread out the different departments and that, so this way we're not spending 2 or 3 hours in a meeting. We're trying to provide everybody with the opportunity to present their information in a format so that everybody can see and understand what's going on. I mean, the mental health group has had legal counsel and all that, and I'm surprised that if it's such a urgent need and all that they didn't have their grant program figured out and lined up and be able to start distributing these funds a lot sooner in that. I guess I look at it from a business perspective in the fact that, if you find a need, this shouldn't be like trying to turn a battleship around. You should be able to quickly act and get things done. They say that they haven't had their money. That's a little bit misleading, because they've had the money. They knew what their purpose was, and they should have been getting it out into the community. I mean, there's really nothing that's stopping them from moving forward with applications and all that and making awards and all that, because they knew the money was going to be coming. They knew that the payments were going to be in May. They knew that they were going to be in September, and those monies have been sitting there. Yes, they did give money to the health department. The health department initially asked for $2 million, and they were given $4 million. So I know the health department has been able to fast track and take some action to start doing things out in the community. We also have other entities like Prior that came before us, and they're out there doing good work. They're doing good work, and we put together agreements with them, and they go out and they do things that are the county isn't going to do, like go out in the middle of the night to some areas that are I'll call them dangerous or that, and provide services that I believe are needed within the community to try and help get people on the right track and get them moving forward. So I don't think anybody on this board is opposed to mental health. It's just we need to try and start running it more like a business. Now, I've been told that we can't run government like a business, but we really need to start looking at it as a business, because the information that I proposed on the last resolution was based on trying to run things as a business, looking at where your money's coming in, when it's going to be coming in, and also to allocating funds in that for things that are going to be happening in the future. So I don't know what else to say, but that's why we came up with that $5 million figure. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Trenier. Then Revis.
Excuse me.
Oh. Yeah.
As soon as he started to talk.
He was first. Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay. Okay, then let me just circle back here too. And I try to be as fair as possible here. Because one time I did, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give you, but I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you. But I cannot keep up with you folks. One time it's like, one time you should have a Republican and a Democrat. One time, and a lot of times we'll go on for a long time. We won't have anyone who will point about it. So I will call on the same person over and over again. I mean, literally, I am trying to be as cooperative and listening to some of your requests. I'm not trying to be unfair. I am not. I am not. County Board Member Balich, go ahead and speak. You guys got to be consistent for me, though. You got to be consistent for me, please.
I want to amend the motion
Okay.
to $2 million.
Is it, you want, okay, so there is a motion to request for $2 million to the Mental Health Board.
Correct.
And there's a second by Dean Schlottman. Any discussion on the $2 million? If you have your light on and you don't want to talk about the $2 million, please turn it off. But if you have a new light, let's go with it. County Board Member Costa. Lights on. Would you like to go first, Annette? Okay, go ahead.
I would like to amend Mr. Balich's amendment, and I'm not quite sure what that process is, if there should be, let that vote go. I just want to be in line to amend his amendment, and I just don't know when that would be. Eight. Yes. All right, I just want to be in queue, that's all. All right?
All right, so if we are addressing the County Board Members Balich $2 million request, let me quickly see. A minute. County Board, yeah.
Did she just make an amendment to the amendment?
No, she did not. No. No, she inquired with the question. So County Board Member Butler, do you have a statement on the 2 million? No. Just gonna make sure. All right, we have, all right. So we are voting on Steve Balich's amendment to $10 million. 2 million, I'm sorry, $2 million. Madam Clerk.
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne. Pretzel.
Yes.
Butler. Newquist. Richmond.
Yes.
Parker. Williams. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan.
Yes.
Freeman. Revis.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Ortiz. Berkowitz.
Yes.
Mueller. Costa. Ogalla.
$12 in the affirmative, I'm sorry, 10 in the negative, the motion, no, 10 in the affirmative, the motion fails. County Board Member Trenier, and then. Okay, you're, sure, there you go, County
All
Board
right,
Member
well, thank you.
Parker.
All right. So I would like to make an amendment to the resolution. And in light of the levy that was just passed, I would request to reconsider and amend to 8 million. And I'd like to explain before it goes out. Oh, okay.
That's fine. I will come back to you. All right. County Board, we have a motion to amend to 8 million by County Board Member Parker, seconded by Butler. Discussion on that. We're going to go back to you, Ms. Parker.
Okay, so it seems 10 million seems to be the target number that's been thrown out there quite a bit. So if we levy at 8 million, and we give 4 million to the health department, that leaves 4 million to the mental health board. There's 6 million already from 2024 that hasn't been spent. So the 4 million plus the 6 million would still give the mental health board 10 million. So again, the health department would get their 4 million, mental health would get 10 million, and we would save the taxpayers 2 million. Or if you want to look at it in the big picture, mental health would have 14 million as opposed to the 16 million that some are requesting. So I would ask for you all to reconsider and amend it to 8 million.
So we have a motion and second on the 8 million. If there's discussion on that, please hold on. County Board Member Revis, then Butler on the 8 million.
Obviously this is a fluid situation. I am leaning towards supporting Annette's amendment here. That sounds like a healthy compromise. Obviously, this isn't a winner take all game. I think we sacrifice some things on the Republican side of the aisle and the Democrats would sacrifice some things as well. I think it's a good compromise. So thank you, Annette, for bringing that. But now I would just like to kind of transition into more broadly the mental health levy as a whole. Again, I think this is government asking for more, but I don't think more funding necessarily equals a better quality of service. Feelings and emotions that surround the very sensitive topic of mental health and mental health services. While those feelings and emotions are very valid, that doesn't equal a proof of concept or, a proof of a sound organizational structure that can execute the mission of why the residents of Will County voted on it. And I have a little anecdote that I think is very relevant to this discussion, and it's an experiment that was conducted. I was fortunate to learn about this at one of Will County's great institutions, Lewis University. I also went to Joliet Junior, so two great schools that we offer people here in the county. But I learned about this at Lewis, and it's called Rat Park Experiment. And so you could Google this to get a better or more detailed explanation than what I'm going to do here. But basically, they took rats, put them in cages. One group of rats had an option of regular water or water laced with morphine. And then they lived about in their cage that was just a blank, desolate cage. There were maybe a little bit of fluffings at the bottom. Those rats, 19 times more of the time, chose the morphine-laced water than the rats that were put in cages with a lot of toys to play with, a lot of colorful little features that I guess any rat would dream of. They were able to conclude through this experiment that the reason or one of the reasons why these rats were choosing the morphine instead of the regular water was because they weren't getting any fulfillment. There was nothing giving them the value to live, so they found themselves getting addicted to this morphine. The rats in the cage with all the toys, all the colorful items, and all the fixings that a rat would like didn't choose the morphine-laced water because they were getting fulfillment from these other items. Why? How does this relate? I think this relates because we as a county board can't just throw money at an issue and think that that's going to solve it. It's a more all-encompassing thing. We absolutely have a mental health crisis in this country and in our county, but we have a equally significant property tax crisis. And when you look at the fact that property taxes are largely regressive, like the Democrat leader conceded to earlier, because that's what they are. What does that really mean? It means that $12 latte that this costs people impacts the person who makes more money, who makes less money more. So a mother who only makes $40,000, $50,000 a year struggles to pay that $12 more than the person living in a, multi-million-dollar home and has a good income and can afford that $12. So we can't be dismissive of that action and the impact that voting on something like this has on property taxes. I know we had a full debate on property taxes earlier. So anyway, that's just a little my perspective on it. I am going to support Annette's motion here for $8 million. I hope there's some on the other side of the aisle willing to compromise at least once.
County Board Member Van Dyne, then Berkowitz.
Thank you.
I'm trying to be careful with my words. You know, before this discussion started, Leader Trenier leaned into me and said that there may be a motion to amend to 8 million. Would you support that? And I said, I not necessarily would like to, but you know, in the efforts to try to work together, I would be willing to consider it if that's the direction you want to go. Which is, this is the case now, but prior to that, there was a figure thrown out at 2 million, and about half of this board, maybe not quite, was willing to support that severe of a cut. So now, you know, I think mental health is something that this county board and this county needs to invest in. I think it's super important. Maybe we can go without certain things, but these folks that are addicted to drugs and mental health, I don't believe they asked for those issues. And I think the adults in the room that we need to try to help with those certain circumstances. So I guess what I'm trying to say is after that $2 million budget, you know, was pretty close to being split. Now I'm reverting back to 10 million and I'm not budget on that. So you had me, but now you don't. Thank you.
County Board Member Berkowitz.
Thank you, Madam Executive. There was a public comment that was sent that wasn't read that I'm going to share with my board members.
Can't read public
today.
comments at this time. What do you?
I can't read comments that were emailed to me. I
Not at
can't-
this time, no. Is it?
From the public?
Yeah.
Why can't I?
Yeah, at the end, if you can, I mean.
But it's
you know,
relevant to this item.
I-
Then it's my public
Oh,
comment.
What?
So
Hold on.
I have public comment.
Hold on. We're going to have to vote to suspend the rule because you said it was a public comment. So we're going to. Yeah, if there's a vote to suspend the rules to, I don't know, someone's got to make a motion to suspend the rules so you can add public comment. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I know.
Public comments.
On. So are you, because if you are going to amend to start saying public comments, there may be people here who would also like to make public comments. So I'm asking you, is someone going to make a motion to amend the agenda so we can have public
I'm going
comment?
to put it this way. I'm going to make some comments. This is what I have learned
Okay.
walking out, ringing doorbells from the people who live in our districts. What
Oh, sorry,
I feel.
sorry. Should I know?
Will County taxpayers expect the members of the board to research all financial options for agencies that provide our citizen services? Proposed tax levy number 24-261, Will County Corporate Fund places undue burden on our community with this increased tax. We've regularly seen our county raise taxes without notifying the public of the intentions or the exact use or need of this increase. Citizens are struggling to live within their means in this inflation-driven economy. All of the individuals I have spoken to are upset and will remember this action during their elections. The proposed levy has been used to justify increasing taxes. For those reasons, many residents in my district believe and are hoping that the county board will not pass and raise these two levies. So this is the message I'm hearing. I'm hearing in the community. And we can say it's only 2 million, it's only 5 million, it's only 10 million. But at the end of the day, if these people can't pay their property taxes, there's no mercy for them. They don't get free housing. Eventually, Their interest in their property may be sold, and they will be escorted out of their homes. Homes that they may have paid their mortgage off. They may have paid their equity every month, but it doesn't matter, because if they can't pay that property tax bill, whatever this property that should be theirs will no longer be theirs, and they will be out on the street or wherever. So for that reason, I am not going to support this tax increase. Thank you.
County Board Member Costa.
Thank you. I have assumptions about why an amendment was made to reduce the levy from the 5 million that was proposed to 2 million. And I feel that that's rather insulting to the residents of Will County. I think it was punitive action to members of the county that harms the voters who have authorized us. It was their will and direction to us to be able to tax for the new mental health board up to 0.05%. And instead, it was shot down even further because we gained a 2% on the budget levy. That is so unfair. That is so petty. And I really do appreciate Member Parker looking for a compromise that both sides can work on. I came in today as both a county board member and serving as vice president of the Community Mental Health Board, knowing what the needs are based on the progress that we have made on the Community Mental Health Board to come in at the same levy we had last year. At the $10 million. And I was going to hold firm on that, knowing there is so much need for services. We have already funded the health department, the $4 million that was distributed as soon as we got the first distribution. And we are now in the process of putting the grants out in January, making decisions to support community-based organizations in February, and releasing the additional funds in March, and which at that point, we're not going to have any additional funds until the next levy distribution cycle occurs in the middle of 2025. And it's tight, and it takes a long time to build up a new board. We've made a lot of progress, and I see some of my counterparts on the other side of the aisle willing to see that, willing to hear that, and willing to fund this, maybe not at the level of 0.05%, but at a level that we can actually see improvement and change, and getting our partners in these community-based organizations involved. There is a line, we already know this, and too bad we couldn't do it sooner, to Chair Richmond's point. I wish that we could have been quicker, but sometimes quick creates mess that we have to fix later. And we are trying to create a system and a process that works from the start all the way through. And that takes vision, that takes time. And so here we are. Voters told us what to do. I think that we need to do that. I heard Member Berkowitz, talk about the struggle and the suffering that's occurring because of property taxes. There is a sea of suffering that we all have to put our arms around, that we have been asked and delegated to do. Again, it's insulting that we don't want to give that money to the amount that the voters told us that we can. There's a number of substance abuse, disorder organizations that want to come forward and help. I think about, people who are struggling in their homes paying their taxes. We're talking about the mental health board. What about the homeless who don't have a property tax to pay? There's so much more that we can do. And I want to thank and appreciate Member Parker in proposing the $8 million. I will be supporting it. I came in here wanting the 10 million, but I will be supporting it. And I hope that we can do this in a bipartisan fashion, because mental health is not a partisan issue. It affects all of us. We all know somebody who is struggling with alcoholism, and other, substance abuse issues. Our frontline, workers are struggling. I could go on, but we all know somebody who's being impacted. So let's do our job as a human being under the power and delegation that we have as county board members to approve the $8 million levy. Thank you.
We have Diaz and then Richmond. County Board Member Diaz.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
In general, I don't really speak very often. However, this issue is kind of important to me. As everybody here knows that's on the board with me, I drive for special ed, District 202, and we go through training every year on what to do if we have an active shooter on our school buses. And they have told us it's not if, it is when. So that is mental illness. We have had many schools in the Will County area where kids are threatening and or bringing guns to school. We had one that luckily got stopped before the kid got to the school that did not make the papers. I also have a family member with severe mental illness. She's bipolar schizophrenic, and I hope she forgives me for talking about this. When she had her last crisis, they could not find anywhere in the local area. There were 4 beds in the entire state that could treat her. 4 beds in the entire state of Illinois. It took her 6 months to get the help. In the meantime, it was paralyzing for the family. My brother was out of his mind with what was he going to do. He was so afraid that he thought, oh my God, I might have to duct tape my wife to the bed so she doesn't hurt herself. And my kids, that was a decision he was toying with making. And he knew if he did it, he would go to prison, but it was worth it to make sure she lived. That is a sin, in my opinion. And this board has the opportunity to rectify that from happening. That's why I'm really struggling. Annette, I greatly appreciate the compromise you're making. That's a real option. I am struggling. I'm going to need a little bit of time to think, but thank you.
County Board Member Richmond.
I was just had my light on for.
Okay, sorry, I turned it off. Yeah, no. County Board Member Coleman and Butler.
County Executive, I just want to thank again Annette for bringing up a number that makes sense. As Jeanette said, there are some things that are going to be personal to everybody on this board, depending on if you're a parent, what you do for a living, if something's happened in your family. And so mental illnesses and mental health is very important to me as a recipient of services because I'm a combat veteran. It took years for me to get to the place where I am right now. And it wouldn't have been possible without mental health and therapy, so on and so forth. But I want to bring this back to ARPA dollars. I thought we got 87 million. We got like 134 million. About 50 million, and this is a rough number, went to like food stabilization, healthcare, mental health, nonprofits. So that money was divided up across a lot of areas, right? 50 million. The request superseded 134, and I don't want to misspeak, but I swear someone said $100 million in requests with the ARPA dollars. $100 million. We received 134. Approximately 50 million went to what could have been some mental health services, but that was divided up with some other programs. And so now with the next number, the number that's still there, ready to be distributed, it comes to $10 million now. And I think that makes a lot of sense for the place that we are in right now. I have relatives that refuse to get services because sometimes services are so generic, it's not specific to their needs, right? But this could be an opportunity where there's some very specific and intentional programs for certain individuals that don't fit into the cookie cutter standard of what maybe mental health services have looked like. Finally, I want to say, going back to what Janet said, children, there's a 6-year-old who stabbed his own relative to death. So what we're going to say the kid was bad, the parents weren't watching him. You can say all of what you want to say, but there's no way you're going to convince me that a 6-year-old understood what the consequences are going to be. And I've also been informed this child had nowhere to go. So he's in the house where the murder occurred. Yes, that's a very individualized, very specific case, but we've been given cases about property taxes and other specific things. There is no way we can say we do not need to fund the mental health board. And I was coming in with the 10 million as well. It was an insult to put up 2 million, but now that Annette has made an appropriate and great suggestion as the amendment, I will be voting in favor of it. Thank you.
County Board Member Butler.
So I just wanted to say that I know that there's probably tempers rising on both sides. And I would like everyone to make this vote thinking rationally and to be calm. It's a very good proposal. I think it satisfies the fiscal responsibility of the Republicans. And it also is a good number for that mental health board to provide services. So, and I'd also like to take the time, because it doesn't happen very often, to just say that I agree with Board Member Costa. We don't always see eye to eye, but this is one time we do. So I'm just asking everybody to kind of let go of some of their anger and think about it, and let's get a unified vote here. Thank you.
Any other comments? County Board Member Balich.
I get why Annette's making a motion at 8 million, but I just look at it like this is more tax. We just raised the levy a whole lot of money, and now we're gonna. Last year, the thing was $10 million, and they didn't spend all of it. They gave $4 million to the health department, which to me was like absurd. Why the county board in the past funded the health department when they needed something? They came to us and they asked us, and we gave them money. Well, now we don't do that. Now we give the mental health board money, and then they give them a portion of their money, and then they ask for more money. So to me, this is just another way of taxing people more money. And I'm not going to vote for it. I think it's dumb.
County Board Member Freeman.
Okay, so I have to say that I remember the health department coming forward and asking for an increase in a levy, and they were denied. That's why they had to go to the mental health board and rework some things to get support for their behavioral health services. So my question is that with this proposal of the 8 million, will the health department still be able to meet all of their required needs at this point?
Know if we have anyone here to answer that for you. So, I mean, we can't answer it's a separate board. We can't predict what the board's going to do with the funding.
So only 2
The
million?
mental health board.
2 million would go?
We can't, they would have to, my guess is the mental health board is going to have to revisit what they're looking at within their budget and make a decision. So we can't answer that here.
So the mental health board would really
Yeah.
have.
We are
less.
just doing the levy. The mental health board would make the decision of how the distribution goes. So we can't answer that.
Because I as
Yeah.
chair of the public health and public safety, I see so many needs, and so many people have come forward with their needs. And yes, we all have personal stories. But to assume that they have money, and because they haven't spent it, we shouldn't provide them more, when we know that the number is going to far reach their ask. I'm having a hard time with this. Thank you.
County Board Member Dean Schlottman. Okay. There is a motion to call the question. Is there a second? Second by, okay, you need 2/3. Seconded by County Board Member Butler. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich,
This is to call the question. We're voting to call the question.
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Winfrey, Coleman, Logan, Freeman, Revis, Mitchell, Ortiz, Berkowitz, Mueller, Costa, Ogalla.
22 in affirmative, the motion carries. So we're now calling the question at the request, the amended request to $8 million. Is there a written sheet? Oh. Madam Clerk, please call, this is on the amended 8 million. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Right. You have a question? Okay. We're calling the question. No, we called the question. We are now voting on the $8 million.
As just an amendment, not
This-
the second vote, which would be as
As
amended.
amended, right, yes.
That's all I
We are
wanted to-
first doing, we are amending the amendment to $8 million. This is motion to amend to $8 million.
Balich, Trainier, Dean Schlottman, Van Dyne, Pretzel, Butler, Newquist, Richmond, Parker, Williams, Diaz, Winfrey, Coleman, Logan, Freeman, Revis, Mitchell, Ortiz, Berkowitz, Mueller, Costa, Ogalla. 20.
20 in the affirmative, the motion carries. I now need a motion to approve as amended. Moved by Winfrey, seconded by Butler. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Now we're going to do. I think we're going to have, yeah.
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogalla.
$19 in the affirmative, the motion carries.